Yeah, you read the title right. You are training like a pussy and it's tarnishing your gains. There's always this one detail mentioned in every video that is so important for your gains, but nobody tells you how to actually do it. When I first started lifting in my home gym basement, I was mostly doing just random exercises with my cement weights, until I started looking things up on YouTube and finally crafted a basic plan. In almost every YouTube video about lifting, they mention training to failure or 1 to 3 reps away from it. This is what was so damn important, but of course, I didn't really know what they were talking about. I just did my exercises until I felt like stopping, and it felt challenging enough, so I thought I was making gains, right? What really is training to failure? Remember the last time you did push-ups for gym class trying to do as many reps as you could until you just couldn't push yourself up anymore? It's those last 1 to 3 reps, aka effective reps, that have been shown to build the most muscle. Without the proper intensity, you are missing out on those key reps. But just knowing about failure isn't getting to failure. Even when I did learn about training to failure and how important it was, I still struggle to do it consistently, especially on the lower body exercises. Let's face it, most of us at the beginner stage are not training hard enough. Yeah, I see you ejecting yourself from the leg press when you have like 5 entire reps left to complete. Nowadays though, I'm able to train the hardest I ever have, doing 20 reps on squats and essentially doing every accessory exercise to failure every set. Now that's not always ideal, and I'll get into that later, but it's a hell of a lot better than when I started. A chunk of what led me to start training harder was just training experience, but another big chunk of that was changes I made to my physicality and mindset. Now I'll show you exactly what those changes were, so you can implement them into your training and finally stop being a pussy. Let me ask you something. Is it possible to feel all the effort and all the pain of a singular workout at once? No, it isn't. You can only ever feel the pain of a single rep in the moment and nothing more. Now ask yourself if you really want to limit your gains because you can't tolerate a few uncomfortable reps that only last a few seconds. Maybe you feel a bit more ashamed now. At least you are more objectively aware of what you are even doing in training, rather than thinking of all the sets and reps you have to do. What you are doing and what you are so scared of is actually just a few hard reps and that's it. Knowing this should help calm you down before or during a workout so you can stay focused. Focus is everything. What you focus on during a set will literally dictate how things go. Do you think it's easier or harder to train hard when you're constantly thinking about stopping the set or how much it hurts? This improves with experience by default, but I got some tactics for you. 1. Split up your reps. What I mean by this is, let's say you have a set of 10 to do. Instead of thinking about doing a set of 10 and just counting to 10, you could think of it as rounds of 4, 3, 2, and 1 reps. What this does is take your focus from how much you have to do and give you little milestones to focus on instead that are much more manageable. So instead of thinking, I'm on rep 3 and this sucks, I'm not even halfway done, you'll be thinking, I'm only 1 rep away from finishing the 4 reps round, and then I can move on to 3 reps, which is 1 less rep than the previous round. This single tactic has helped me so much, which I use with many exercises. My preferred way to use it is to count by 1, 2, 3 until I'm finished. The next tactic is 2. Set a target rep count. Always have a target rep count in mind and just try your hardest to reach it. Like, if I don't reach 5 reps, I'm a certified bitch. This can potentially backfire on your intensity if you set your goal reps too low, but if you are constantly aiming to progress with weight and or reps, the sets will inevitably have to get really hard as you set your goal reps higher, because you pretty much have to. In order for this to really work, you have to want progression. You have to actually care about getting that next PR or making that weight jump. The only way you can really do that is to understand how valuable progression is in lifting. All the effort you already put into lifting, the diet, the sleep, the getting up and going to the gym even when you don't want to, only means anything when you progress, because it's trackable proof that you are building muscle. When you build more muscle, you are able to produce more force, allowing you to progress. It's very hard to measure muscular size gains through things like body measurements week to week, since physical changes are so slow. But what you can track to know for sure week to week is how your strength is changing. Alright, that's mostly it for mindset. You can use counting reps and setting goals to really hone in your focus in the moment, and use the other mindset tips to calm yourself down before training, to get your head out of this, oh my god, this is gonna be so hard, I don't want to do it state. Now on to something you can train physically. And no, it doesn't kill gains. Here are some of my favorite ways to improve your cardio. Walking long distances, swimming, sports/combat sports training, light jogging medium distances, and rounds of sprinting done in intervals, 50 to 200 meters at a time. All of these will improve your aerobic endurance, which will help stop it from becoming a limiting factor during your sets. You know it is if you tend to stop sets because you feel exhausted, you're breathing heavy, etc. It will also help you recover faster between sets, so you don't need to take 5 minutes rest between squats, allowing you to train with higher density and volume. Too much emphasis on cardio can can hinder your gains. For example, too much running/sprinting, especially if done prior to workouts, can impact lifting performance that session. Ideally, you perform your cardio right after lifting or on rest days. I would recommend every day you do some form of lighter intensity, low impact cardio like walking, swimming, or light jogging to improve your general cardio base. This is also known as LIST training, meaning lower intensity steady state. LIST allows you to reap cardio benefits while barely, if at all, impacting your recovery. It could even promote more recovery thanks to active recovery. Then I would recommend around 1 to 2 times a week you do a much higher intensity form of cardio, like hard training for other sports, sprints, etc. This is also known as HIIT training, meaning high intensity interval training. This is where you'll see the most cardio and stamina gains given how intense this exercise is. Because it is so intense though, it's also very fatiguing, so I would limit it to a max of 2 sessions per week. It may not even be necessary. You can try more moderate intensity cardio as well. That's essentially it for cardio. It doesn't have to be very complex since it's usually only a supplement to your training. Just get up and take a light jog or walk after your workout, gradually increasing the mileage as time goes on, just like you would add reps or weight to your exercises. But if even after all this you still struggle, I got something else for you. You can always settle for some changes to your program in order to make it more mentally digestible for you. I'll explain the catches after. You can 1. Do lower reps for your exercises, even going as low as 5 reps for your heaviest exercises. You don't need to train at super high reps like upwards of 10 to 15 to 20 reps in order to optimize muscle growth. It's been shown that when you reach the same reps from failure, you can get essentially the same hypertrophy from 5 reps all the way up to 30 reps. However, as you go towards the higher end of the range, you start to introduce more limiting factors like cardio fatigue and metabolic stress, which can prevent you from reaching true muscular failure. This is why it would be wise to train in the lower rep ranges such as 6 to 8, 5 to 7, etc., since it minimizes the amount of limiting factors, so you can completely focus on form and reaching true muscular failure. I wouldn't say you need to go to lower reps for isolation exercises though. You can still keep those high since outside limiting factors are much less prevalent given they are much lighter movements. You could even go lower than 5 reps, but keep in mind a few things though. It's been shown that it takes around 7 sets of triples to generate the same hypertrophy as 3 sets of 10. And the lower reps you go, the more you also start to risk accumulating CNS fatigue. This isn't something you have to worry about a lot as a beginner, but as you get stronger, you won't be able to be doing heavy sets below 5 reps close to or to failure every single session. You'll just burn yourself out. Moving on, you can also 2. Change your exercise selection, picking exercises that require the least amount of mental effort and other factors than just reaching failure. As an example, take a Bulgarian split squat. The exercise is notorious for being one of the worst torture methods next to medieval shit. But why? First, it has to be done twice, once for each leg because it's a unilateral exercise, while still requiring a heavy load of other systems in the body due to being a compound movement. And there's still a very large stability demand that comes with it given that you have to balance on one foot, which takes extra mental effort to perform. Now what if you didn't need to do a Bulgarian split squat? If you are purely focused on quad hypertrophy, then you could instead do a much easier movement like a hack squat. It's a bilateral exercise, meaning you only need to do it once to train both legs. It isolates the quads much more, which results in less demand because less musculature is used to move the weight. There is essentially no stability demand, allowing you to put all of your focus into just using your quads to drive the weight up. This also reduces the demand on other systems. It's still not going to feel easy, but it's definitely easier to reach failure on a set of 6 on the hack squat rather than failure on a set of 15 on Bulgarian split squats for both legs. I wouldn't recommend going the full machine route though. Mario Rios would send you to federal prison, but if you need a break from the free weights or you are purely focused on muscle size, then go for it. But just know that the more machines and isolations you do, the more exercises you will need in general to cover as much musculature as you could with more free weight based compound exercises. That's about it for changing up your program. Now maybe you're still just generally feeling tired and unmotivated though. Before I teach you anything else, you need to know the ways of measuring training intensity on a set-to-set basis. Most commonly, it's RPE and RIR. RPE is the rate of perceived exertion and is basically just a scale of 1 to 10 on how hard a set was, with 10 being the hardest set you've ever done. RIR is reps in reserve and basically just how many reps you have left before you would fail the movement. RPE and RIR are usually the inverse of each other, so 2 RIR would be 8 RPE and vice versa. Moving on, training the failure has different forms. Is it stopping when technique breaks down? Is it stopping when you can barely move the weight anymore? Or is it even past that? All of those methods have terms. Technical failure is when you can no longer get any more reps without having to sacrifice technique, usually RPE 8 to 9. Absolute failure is when you can no longer perform any more reps no matter how much cheating you use, always RPE 10 or 0 RIR. Within reason, of course. You don't want to start fucking jumping to get the weight up in bicep curls. Past failure is when you used high intensity techniques in order to allow yourself to complete more reps beyond the point of absolute failure, such as dropping the load, getting assistance, taking a short rest period, etc. This is where your RAR would literally be negative, so that stuff isn't measured here. It's just known as past failure. Training is also rarely ever done here. When I say train intensely, it really depends on the exercise you're doing. Take something like a deadlift for example. It's an almost full body movement that allows you to lift a shit ton of weight. Is this really something you want to start cheating your form on to get more reps to reach absolute failure, or god forbid going past failure? No! Pretty much any heavy barbell exercises you do, especially axial loading movements, I highly advise stopping at technical failure. So if your brace gives out, low back starts giving out, you're losing positioning, then stop the set and fight another day. There are cases I wouldn't even recommend going to technical failure. When you're at the beginning of a training block where you need the extra recovery to build training momentum, you are in a deload, or you are rehabbing from an injury. As for accessory movements like dumbbells, leg machines, or safer barbell movements like rows, you can go to absolute failure more often, but I still recommend most sets be technical failure. Say you have 3 sets to do for barbell rows. The first 2 sets can be RPE 8 to 9, stopping on technical failure, or even a rep short, and then the last set will be taken to absolute failure. This is a good mix of good quality work with good form and very high intensity, where you can train very intensely almost always as your isolations. Things like curls and lateral raises can be taken very consistently past failure and won't pose much effect to your recovery or injury risk at all. Methods of going past failure I recommend are lengthened partials, where after failing you just do half reps until you can't do any more half reps, rest pause sets / micro reps where you get to absolute failure, rest 15 seconds and then do it again and repeat. Drop sets where you get to absolute failure, then immediately drop the weight and get to failure again. And lastly, assisted reps where you get a spotter to help move the weight so you can keep doing more reps. And that's essentially it for when and when not to train to failure. And now you finally know how to train to failure and all about it. And now it's not just some random detail that barely gets explained in literally every lifting video. Oh, just make sure you are training close to or to failure. If you want things explained even more in depth and not have any guesswork to how the hell you're supposed to run your lifting routine, because there's a lot of mixed opinions online, I am offering personal training if you subscribe to my only bars. I can literally be right there telling you exactly what to do and make shit as simple as possible. I can help you with any of the pitfalls or doubts you are having. If you like the sound of that, go check out the first link in the description. If you don't, that's alright man. You can always join the free community Discord if you still want to interact with me and other random fitness enjoyers. I'm pretty active there. Anyways, that is all the yapping I have for you today, brother. If you want further advice, if you want to start taking things to failure and really start pushing training intensity, then I would also recommend learning how to start preventing injury so you don't get sawed in half by the barbell in the future. This is done via proper warm-ups, technique, but also knowing how to fail lifts. You've seen endless videos of guys getting stuck under the bench press, almost choking, and then having to tip the weight to the side. You don't gotta go through that, man. I got just a video for you right here. Well, what are you waiting for? Go start working and take action. You can like and subscribe if you'd like, and I hope you have a great day.